So this tarmac was laid approximately 12 years ago now, and as you can see, generally it's lost quite a lot of colour over the years. We've got a little bit of fine cracking here, a little bit of surface fretting, and towards the front of the drive some more substantial cracking. Now, this would have been caused by a variety of factors. When tarmac is first laid, it's full of protective resins, and over a period of time, not only do those resins start to diminish, which leads to loss of colour, but also the surface effectively dries out and becomes vulnerable to the kind of deterioration that you can see today. So when I first visited the property a few weeks ago, there was quite a lot of moss and algae present on the surface, and it was important that before I tried to clean with my pressure washer, that I treated the moss and algae to reduce that, so that during the cleaning process I could clean with a very low pressure, which meant there was no risk of damaging the tarmac further. So we finished cleaning the surface 4 or 5 days ago now, and I'm emphasising that 4 or 5 days because we do need to make sure the surface is properly dry before we move on to the repairs and coating of the tarmac. But one final thing I'm going to do here for the preparation is just sweep the surface quite aggressively clean with a stiff broom to obviously get rid of any dust, but more importantly to get rid of any dried spores from the moss or algae that might still be present. So we all know that with any DIY or building type project, then preparation is always the key. When it comes to tarmac, certainly that principle doesn't change. Generally, if the surface has reached the point where some kind of coating needs to be applied, then there's a good chance that some other issues may have occurred. Now this could range from minor cracking to more significant cracks, as we can see here, to edges breaking away, maybe a little bit of subsidence, to more general potholes or surface deterioration. Whatever's going on, the good news is that there's a product available that's generally very easy to work with that can repair that damage. So we've got a variety of products here to really carry out any kind of repair on tarmac. If it's a significant area of subsidence or a pothole, then we're looking to use our cold lay repair. Now, the key with the cold lay repair is that we need a significant depth to be removed, maybe an inch, 25 mil or so that the product has something properly to key into. You would build up the levels, compact it down, and this would give a very significant repair. If it's more of a kind of surface layer that's been removed, maybe around 10, 12 millimeters, around ½ an inch, then this sort of surface screed product would be the one to use for those shallow repairs. For areas that are more just the kind of cracks that we can see in front of us, then we're looking at one of several types of crack repair compound that are available. With this product here, again, you would mix with a little bit of water or a little bit of the Tarmac Restorer and create a paste that you could then trowel into the crack itself. Or we have a liquid repair there, hopefully you can just see that moving a little bit, or various forms of mastic. Whatever is appropriate, there's no reason why that shouldn't do a great job and is important as part of the preparation. Okay, so although we had no need to use the cold lay repair actual tarmac on the job we was working on, you can see just on the adjoining property here where it has been used to good effect. One here to bridge between the old tarmac and the curb, and then in this area it's been used to create a significant repair. Maybe some sort of water main or something was replaced, I'm not sure, but you can see how the repair's been carried out. An angle grinder has been used to get a nice clean edge, A certain depth of tarmac, decent depth of tarmac, would have then been removed and the cold lay repair product used to replace that damaged area. So the product we're going to use to restore and protect the tarmac is an acrylic based coating. It's not to be confused with a low cost kind of tarmac paint, which you could say is a little bit like putting a plaster over a gaping wound. It might be covering it, but it's actually not fixing it. With our product, the principle is that the acrylic, the resins, they soak into the tarmac and put back that weather repellency that the wear and tear and elements have taken away since it was first laid. Importantly as well, it recolours the surface, and the product is UV stable, so again you're not going to see a rapid deterioration, rapid loss of colour once the product has been applied. Now if you think about the principle, we all know that that with our fences and sheds and any external surface really, if not protected, the elements will soon take their toll, and it doesn't mean that your shed will fall down or your fence panels will break, but if you keep them protected, they will last longer and look better. And that's the same principle with tarmac and the tarmac coating. If it's maintained every few years, there's no reason why we should ever get to a situation where we're having to dig up our tarmac and replace it, or suffer the wholesale deterioration that you can see on the surface that's occurred here. So one of the nice things about the product, it's very easy to work with. Literally, if you're capable of painting a vertical wall, you could say you're overqualified to use this product. It really is that easy. All we need is a decent roller kit, long handle frame, medium pole roller, and either a decent tray, or if you're doing a large area, just an extra capacity scuttle, and that's all you need to apply the product. It really is that simple. Okay, so we've got our paintbrush for cutting in around the edges, then we've got our roller kit, the tray or the scuttle. Because I've got quite a significant area here, I'm going to use the scuttle. Just gives me the ability to put in extra products, so I'm not having to refill the container so often. Now, a couple of things to remember about the product itself. It does stay on the side there. Make sure you thoroughly mix before and during use. So, a good shake up like that is absolutely fine. The reason you need to keep mixing it each time you pour some into the tray or scuttle is that if it's left to dwell for too long a period, this can mean that the polymers start to separate a little bit, and sometimes you might get a slightly patchy finish. So the key is just give it a good shake every time. Now, we always recommend 2 coats, and if you work on the basis the better the condition, the further the product is going to go. It's best to average out on maybe 50 square meters per container, a first coat, and a second coat could be 60, 65, maybe even more. It all depends on condition. Okay. Now, when it comes to weather conditions, I would say generally you need to be applying the product in drying conditions. I've applied the product any time from March until October. Really, you're looking at, say, dry conditions with temperatures maybe 12 degrees and above, but importantly not too hot. Certainly if you got to the point where the temperatures may be 23, 22, 25 degrees, you would put your hand on the tarmac and it would feel very warm. Basically, your product is going to dry too quickly. So if you are, and hopefully you are, working at a time of year where you've got very nice weather, if the temperatures are reaching any kind of level near that, I would suggest doing the work in the first part or the end of the day when there's not significant heat in the tarmac itself. Okay, so as I said earlier, really, if you're capable of painting a horizontal wall, you could say you're overqualified to use this product. It really is that simple. When it comes to the application, very easy with a roller. And the great thing, unlike painting a wall. I'm certainly not the world's best at painting a wall, but because the Tarmac is very absorbent and accepts the product very readily, you don't get an issue with runs or drips or this kind of thing really. So as I say, really easy to apply, and on a day like today, you know, temperatures around 20 degrees, really a couple of hours between coats is absolutely fine. Okay, so once we've completed the project, a couple of things to think of moving forward. My recommendation would be, if you're looking to keep the Tarmac in pristine condition, it's worth considering a top-up coat, one singular coat, maybe every 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. Who knows? It all depends on the initial condition of the Tarmac and how much wear and tear it receives. If you do nothing again, it's certainly going to last longer than it did before you applied the product, but that little bit of maintenance now and again, yeah, is a good idea in my opinion. The other thing to consider, if you've got maybe north facing or overhanging trees and the area doesn't receive much sunlight, then you could find that you still have areas that go green. And that would be because with the product itself, it's putting that water repellency back into the Tarmac, okay? And those algae will only grow where you have got a water resistant surface. So if you did find that the area still goes a little bit green during the winter, you can always just very simply take a product such as this one, a moss and algae clear product, dilute it down to maybe a 1:5 or even a 1:6 ratio. Just apply it with a garden sprayer and just leave it, because unlike prior to applying the product, the moss and the algae were becoming attached to the Tarmac. Now it will just be sitting on top, a film on top of the protected surface, and that will just melt away. Just an easy application, maybe once during the winter, it will just melt away, and that is it. That is your maintenance done and dusted, and your surface will keep looking good, hopefully for years to come.